So for this painting, you see I'm using the usual, Artist Loft white acrylic, and then I have the bright orange sour apple. I mixed those two golds together. It's rose gold and glorious gold, and then I had some of this already mixed, which I went ahead and used, so it was ultramarine blue and silver. And I will also put all the colors and everything that I used in the description in case you want to recreate your own version of this. And I mean, you can use any colors, but it is a lot of fun just trying this. This is the first time that I've done a matched set like this, so I was just kind of playing around to see, just to see if I could get them to match and get it to work well together. So I usually always start my puddles. Usually I'll use like white or black or both. I usually start with the white on the bottom. It kind of gives a base to it. I wanted to make, and I was using 4 different colors, so I decided to go ahead and go with 4 puddles. In case you're wondering why I went ahead and added another one. It was just so I could keep those colors kind of even. It helps. I'm weird like that, I guess. I like even numbers. Anyway, so I tried to get them as even as possible, just so that it would be easier, when I start to move the canvas. Getting all of them kind of the same is really difficult when you're doing the match set, because they're not going to move the same way. Even if you pour them exactly the same on each one, they're not going to move the same way. And you want them to look different, but the meeting space in the middle, you want it to look like a continuation, like it's the same piece that was cut in half, basically, is what I was trying to do. So that was a little harder than I expected it to be, but it was a lot of fun just kind of playing around. And I had to re-pour some colors in there just to kind of help them match up a little bit. And I used a straw and blew on it a little bit. I figured that kind of points the air that I'm blowing right into a specific area. If I would have just blown on it, it would have fanned out more. And so I wanted to keep it to just a very specific area. So I just used the straw for that. And, it's really fun to do that and just play around. If you've never done it before, start on like a small, you can get really small, cheap canvases at Michael's, and they're really cheap. You can get like packs of like 5 or 7 or 8, depending on the size of the canvas, for like $20, and it's really not bad at all. And you can use those for like your practices, which is what I like to do. I do like this size. These are 10 by 20. It's just kind of a different, it's not like your traditional square ones that, that people generally use. It's a long rectangular one. So it was kind of neat for a matched pair. And I had 2 left, so I went ahead and just gave it a try. I haven't been doing these much lately. I have so many of them that I just, so anyway. So here we go. I'm pouring the white on here, and just to kind of cover that canvas. And so I guess this is where it starts to get a little harder. So then I'm just going to take a popsicle stick, and I spread that around just to make sure that the edges get covered well. That way I don't have to move it quite so much, although I do still tend to move my canvases a little more than it probably should sometimes. So just, trying to get that paint evened out a little bit. I don't like my paints thick. I like my paints thinner. I tend to get more reaction. I don't like to use all the additives like silicone and all that kind of stuff in there. I mean, if you can actually get some really beautiful results that way, and it is actually kind of fun to do that every once in a while. I have done it, but I prefer to do my paintings this way, just because they are so unpredictable and they all turn out so differently, and I really like to watch them just change. So here I'm using the end of the paintbrush just to kind of run through it a little bit. If you do it too much, it makes the colors blend too much and it becomes too muddy. So just a little bit to kind of connect those and get some of those effects. So I'm just, you know, moving it around a little bit, which, you know, I wish I would have kind of done it a little bit differently, but like I said, this is my first time. I just wanted to kind of play around with it and see what I got. I don't like that it's kind of a stripe across, but I do kind of fix it a little bit more, I think, on the other one than that first one. But and you can see that they're not going to match up as hard as you try. They're just not going to match up completely. So I kind of let him sit and move around a little bit, and then I decided to kind of play, picking out any of the little chunks in there. It does happen. You get them every once in a while. I used a lot of white on this project, which is perfectly fine. I like that. I like the white space with those bright colors. And so, and the painting's already starting to change, and so I'm trying to hurry and mix these. Sorry about my dog in the background. She's still a puppy, curious about everything. So here's where I'm going to start kind of playing around. I wanted, you know, the white to kind of show up in the colors themselves. And it didn't really happen much, so I'm going to kind of fix that a little bit. I guess there wasn't quite as much paint there. I didn't like the end of that over there. I kind of split that up. I wanted to add, you know, some white in. And that I brought it in just to make it kind of more match with the first one. And adding a little bit of white in there. So this is me just kind of playing around, and you'll, you know, once you've done this a few times, I mean, like I said, this is my first time trying this, so, you know, you just never know until you try, and you'll come up with all kinds of different stuff. I think the green didn't come out quite as bright as I wanted. It kind of mixed with that orange a little bit and the blue a little bit. But it still, you know, it still turned out pretty good. I brought that side in a little bit also, just to kind of, and here I go. I'm going to move it again. And trying to get those effects to come out. So, you know, moving it around, and then I was afraid to mess up the rest of it, so I just didn't really want to move it around too much. So then you'll see me probably disappear. I think I disappeared from the screen for a little bit. And then I decided to go and get a straw. I thought I had one in my drawer, but I must have tossed it. Oh, I guess I do have it. And so here, as you'll see, I'm just kind of blowing. And when you do that, it creates, you know, its own different kinds of effects. You get... it kind of pushes that paint and the white paint underneath it kind of together, and it does pretty neat things. So I'm just playing, trying to get those corners covered. Sorry, I'm kind of blocking the camera there. I forgot about my corners. I wanted to get them before it got too set on there. So yeah, so I'll just continue doing this for a while, and I kind of decided, because some of those edges were kind of soft, and so I decided to kind of blow on those edges and make it almost look like a cloud or smoke or something, little smoke tendrils or whatever. So it actually turned out kind of cool. And you can see how they do look kind of muddy. Those colors didn't really, like the orange and the green, they kind of mixed a little too much. So adding colors in like I did just to kind of make them match more. It actually kind of brought some more brightness to it, which I was really happy about that because I didn't have a whole lot of actual brightness. So with that white paint over there and me blowing that that orange paint over there, it did make it look kind of wispy like smoke. So I wanted to kind of match that on the other side so that they would match. So just, play around with your pieces. That's why I say start, with little cheap ones, canvases, and just do some practicing. And, and I've also done tiles, and you can get like little coaster size tiles at a dollar store, and you can paint those, and you can, that way you can have a set of coasters. I've done those. My kids have some just for fun. And you can also, I have a friend of mine that does some tile work, and he had some leftover tiles, and he let me have them just to kind of play with. And I actually did some really cool pours on some of those tiles. And so, I mean, I just went and bought a little roll of corkboard, and I glued it to the bottom of those tiles, and they would make really good plant stands. So, I mean, you can do this kind of pouring on just about anything. And the tiles, they already have kind of that rough surface. So these specific tiles that I used did. You wouldn't want to use like the really smooth ceramic tiles. I mean, you could. I would just recommend putting a layer of gesso on them. It just kind of roughs it up, gives the paint something to stick to, so it doesn't just kind of like peel off. So, I mean, you can use wood, you can use, I mean, any kind of surface. You can even pour on glass. I've seen people pour on glass before. I would wonder about the glass just because I just spoke about the gesso, but just because you would have I would be worried that it was such a smooth surface that the paint would peel off. But if it's, I guess if you put like a layer of, what's it called? I totally just went blank. If you put, I can't even think of what it is now. The clear epoxy stuff. So if you just put some of that on there, I'm sure that would, keep it on there. But, if you have like an old glass table and you're tired of looking at it, or you want to change it up or decorate it, give it a try. I mean, what can it hurt? You already don't like looking at it or whatever. So I have seriously been thinking about just going to, yard sales and thrift stores and looking for old furniture and or anything like frames you could do, and for like kids frames, for all kinds of stuff. You could pour on frames, you can pour on pottery, you can pour on all kinds of stuff. Sorry, there's my daughter. She's trying to give me her little pointers. Anyway, so there's painting or blowing, trying to get those little wispies out there, just to give it, a little something, so it wasn't like such a straight edge. And this took probably 30 to 45 minutes, I would say, from beginning to end to get this painting how I wanted it. And it's like I said, I like the results. I think it turned out really, really well. I think just for my next one, I want to try and get those colors to not mix so much. So, I mean, there's certain ways, maybe pour less colors in each puddle, or I mean, I don't know, you could just try different things. You just, like I said, you never know what's going to happen. So yeah, I'm just kind of playing around with these and explaining to yet another person in my household what I'm doing and the results and everything. So I do really like how I separated on that second piece, on the one on the left, how I separated that on the bottom left of that with the white. I think that added like a little bit of difference between the two. The only thing I wanted the same was that meeting spot right there on the two edges. So, and then here, after letting it sit for a while, I went ahead and did a little video of the final results, just to kind of show from the top view also. So I finished it off here, and then this, like I said, that the gold just really disappeared. And I mean, it's like I said, it's bright and pretty, and with that white as the negative space, it just made those colors pop. But in the center of each one of those, like I said, those colors just mixed. So overall, I think these are beautiful pieces. I will be posting on Instagram too, so if you follow me on Instagram, it's Kenzie Art. So come and find me and let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you next time.